I'm Jeff Fritz with SoundStage.com, and I'm joined today by Daniel Weiss of Weiss Engineering, live from Switzerland. Daniel, how are you doing today?
Fine, thanks, Jeff. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks for
it's
joining
snowing.
me. At the end of December, you got quite an honor. You were awarded a Technical Grammy Award, and that's obviously a huge thing to put on your resume. And we wanted to talk a little bit about it. So tell us, what is a Technical Grammy Award, and how did you find out that you had won? And just tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, the Recording Academy, who is contributing those awards, the Grammy Awards, also do a Lifetime Achievement Awards. And one of those Lifetime Awards is a Technical Grammy for technically oriented persons or companies even. So there is a small list on the Grammy website, which where you can see all the winners in the past several years. So and I got a call from Harvey Mason Jr. That's the president of the Recording Academy, and he told me that I have won the Technical Grammy 2021 this time. Yeah,
I would
that's
imagine that was quite an exciting phone call.
yeah, sure.
Well, tell us a little bit about some of your achievements and some of the digital advancements that you've made on the pro recording side. I think most of probably our readers are they're familiar with your digital to analog converters on the home audio side, but I'm not
Right.
sure that our readers and listeners are that familiar with what you've done on the pro side. Tell us a little bit about what you do in that field.
Yeah, we started in the pro audio. We still do pro audio, of course, besides the high-end stuff. And we started in '84, and that was the time when the CD came out, started to appear in shops, etc. And there was a market niche for equipment which is able to do signal processing in the digital domain. So you can do in the mastering studios, you can do digital signal processing instead of going analog and digital again for a CD. So there was a big niche for such equipment like equalizers, compressors, phasers, mixers, all that stuff for studio purposes. And that's where we started, basically, in that niche. And I can show you a photo of one of our first systems. I think you should be able to
Oh,
see that.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's a modular system for mastering. So the customers were able to assemble the modules they needed, like interfaces, compressors, EQs, etc., as I mentioned. And so it was a very flexible system and very good quality also, even back in the 80s or 90s. And this modular system even allowed to do a mixing console that was also mentioned in the Technical Grammy text. Like
Okay.
this part is also modular, so this particular one is a 24-channel digital mixing desk that was used at Sony Music in New York for doing mix down of classical music, basically. So that's about the range we did back then. And later on, we started the Gambit series. We call it. It's still available. That's a mastering studio, for instance. And you see the white colored units here. These
Right.
are our Gambit series units, which are 19-inch rack mount units for equalization, compression, again, etc. So that's about what we do in pro audio, even still today. And that's the main reason for me to get this Technical Grammy, that we were kind of, or my company was kind of pioneer in digital audio for CD mastering. Our clientele is mainly mastering studios and some recording as well.
So Daniel, one question, just curious. The technology you mentioned, getting started on the pro audio side back in the 80s. What have you seen in terms of the technological advances, some of which your company may have pushed forward. What have you seen just in terms of the technology advancing through the years? Can you give us a short timeline?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, in the 80s, we had well, actually, when we started, we didn't even have ASCII or SPDIF formats. That wasn't created back then, and the sampling frequencies were all over the place. 44.1 was one because of the video recorders for recording the digital audio. That's the only reason, because it's 44.1. And then came 48 in studios. They created the 48 standard. But before that, it was all kinds of sampling rates, 50 kilohertz, 50.4, and all kinds of strange sampling rates. So I was at Studer before I started my company, and at Studer, I started in the digital audio lab in '79. That's when Studer started to do digital audio, basically. And we did, the first job I got there is doing a sampling frequency converter for all those weird sampling rates and the interface formats. Every company had their own format, digital audio format, no standardizing. So, and yeah, 44.1 was the main sampling frequency back then, and then, came 88.2, 96, 176.4, 192, etc., etc. And in studio, they usually use maybe 96. That's about, nowadays it's about the standard frequency, because they have to take care of the DSP power or the workstation power they need. And they have multiple channels. They mix in a workstation based on a computer. So they have many channels, for example, and they have to take care of the computing power they need for their mixing. So they can't go like 192 or even higher. That would be too demanding for the workstation. So in studios, 96 is about the standard, or even less, 48. They don't have any issue with that. It's a high-end thing, a high-end hi-fi thing that we go to 384 and 78, 68, etc. It's like crazy rates, Yeah. Just to remind our high-end viewers that in pro audio, it's a bit different. And the word length, of course, is also important, 16-bit CD, and nowadays we get 24. The high-end people talk about 32-bit Dido converters, which is also, if it's 24-bit, a real 24-bit is a very good converter. And 30-bit is out of question anyway.
Well, before I ask you about the high-end side, because SoundStage, that's our primary readership and viewership, and they're going to be interested in just what's new at Weiss Engineering. Can you just tell us a little bit about some of the projects that your pro equipment has been used in and with?
You mean in the high-end hi-fi?
No, on the pro side, some of the commercial projects perhaps that your equipment's been used with, or where it's used.
You mean, that's a whole lot, That's
Just give us a few of your favorites.
Yeah, all the big names. For instance, one of our very good customers is Mr. Bob Ludwig from Gateway Studios in Maine, Portland, Maine. So he is a mastering engineer. He's probably the most well-known mastering engineer on the planet. And he does all the big names, Rolling Stones and all those big names. And he runs 3 of our compressors, for instance, for surround mastering. Yeah. So, all the bigger mastering studios or those who can afford it, they have our equipment basically. And now we have a partnership with the Softube company, a Swedish company. They do plugins, so they do from 2 of our units, from the EQ1, the equalizer, the S1, the compressor, the S3. They do plugin versions. So they are now much more affordable because it's just a piece of software you download and that's it. But they are about as good as the hardware units because our units are purely digital. So it's kind of simple to transfer those to the computer domain, so to speak. It's not an analog unit which you have to emulate somehow in the computer. But with a digital unit, it's very simple, basically. So we can get a copy of the hardware, basically. And so we are very successful with those plugins now. And I think it's a good idea, of course, to get it into more studios, the performance we offer with those units.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the last question that I have for you, because I know people write in and they tell us that use your digital to analog converters, for instance, and so on the high-end home side, what is Weiss Engineering up to right now, and can you tell us anything about what may be coming soon? Yeah,
well, right now we have this unit I put here. This is our latest D2A converter, as you mentioned. It's also one of a kind unit. It's not the Me Too unit. We always try to do not Me Too units. And it has a signal processor built in for various signal processing tasks like equalization, room equalization, de-essing, to take out sibilance sounds, and like crosstalk cancellation. And that's a whole thing, a separate thing we should maybe at a later time do a discussion about. Then constant volume control. So at nighttime listening, you have not that high dynamics, and what we have a vinyl simulation. Yeah, and you keep adding other stuff. We now just are about to release headphone equalization for specific headphones. We started with the Audis company. So
and what is the model name of that particular unit? I know it's not the half rack size DAC that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, you probably are familiar with the DAC 202, which is half rack, and this is the DAC 502. But we have also a half rack version, which is the DAC 501.
Okay.
So and we have a DSP version of those units, meaning that it doesn't have the analog output, but just digital output. Okay. So that's DSP 502, DSP 501. So if you have your favorite D2A converter you would like to use, you can have the DSP 502, for instance, and have room capability and all those DSP algorithms I mentioned added to your setup. So you
very
can
nice.
keep your deck,
very nice.
etc. Or you can feed a loudspeaker with digital inputs. It's also an application for that unit. Yeah. And yeah, future, we always do new projects, of course. I'm not allowed to talk much about it. But one thing is we are working on for years already. So it's about time that we bring it out. It's a crosstalk canceling speaker. It's a soundbar, large soundbar.
Oh, okay.
I could move the camera on and show it to you if you like.
So, I would love to see it. Yeah.
And this, crosstalk cancellation means if you have a stereo reproduction, you always have a crosstalk, meaning that the right speaker is going to your left ear as well, not only to your right ear. So it's not like headphones. Headphones, there you don't have crosstalk, basically. You have the right speaker at your right ear, the left speaker at your left ear, and that's it. And with the crosstalk cancellation, you can achieve that with speakers as well. So you play back on speakers, and this algorithm manages it that your right ear only gets the signal from the right speaker, and your left only the left signal. So that gives you a completely different listening impression. It's incredible what that is doing to your music, basically.
Yeah, true stereo performance from a form factor that you would typically not get that type of sound from.
Yeah, and you think you are in the concert hall if you do that, because all the reverberation, everything is there. The stage is clearly there. Each musician is at his position. It's
fascinating.
I'm raving about it.
Fascinating.
But I can move the camera for just a minute. let me see. Yeah, you see the TV.
Wow.
And that's difficult. Below the TV, this is the soundboard, this live box we call it.
Okay.
Which is fairly large, but full range and has this crosstalk cancellation built in.
And when will that be available? When do you foresee that coming to market?
Is it darker now or no?
No, it seems okay.
Yeah. Well, this year. Every year I say this year, but I think in 2021 it should happen.
Okay.
Finally. Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for your time this morning or afternoon in Switzerland, and congratulations again. That's quite something to put on your resume. I was thinking I probably got most improved on my T-ball team. That's probably the last award that I got. So that's the Technical Grammy is an amazing accomplishment, and congratulations again to you and your team.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.